Thanks everybody for joining today. We got a lot of big news to cover. Um, I'm Roger Rayle. I'm chair of CARD and chair of Site Residents for Safe Water, and I'm in my 33rd year of watching over this Gelman contamination as a citizen volunteer, and it's good to have everybody on board. And the news today, I think, will give everybody a lot of hope for the future. I'm going to share my screen and bring up the agenda. Again, this meeting is being recorded and will be posted on YouTube after the meeting's over. I recommend when you're viewing it to go into gallery mode so you can see as many participants as possible. And what you'll see on the right side of your screen is some boxes that show up, and you can make that bigger by there's a little dragging bar on the bottom so you can see everybody or fewer people. And then if you're um, on a single screen, you'll see the what we're showing, what we're sharing on the left side, and then all the people on the right side. And there's a bar in between where you can drag left or right to make the people bigger or the what's being presented bigger. So I think that's all I have to say at the beginning. I'm going to turn it over to Jack, who's our executive director for running the meeting. And everybody, welcome everybody, and we'll get some good news going here in the middle of the meeting.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jack Eaton. I'm going to try to guide us through the agenda and keep us on subject and on time. Um, so the first item on the agenda is approval of the January minutes. I need a motion to accept those minutes.
And here are the minutes.
So moved.
I need a second.
I'll second it.
Um, are there any comments or discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, I'll seek a vote here. All those in favor of accepting the minutes, say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Seeing none, the minutes are approved.
Thanks, Jack.
So I will turn to the US EPA update. I didn't notice whether anybody's here from the EPA.
They announced that because of the meeting earlier today, and Jack, I think you can summarize that as good as anyone. What a bunch of us who were invited on the board and some elected officials. There was a meeting, a roundtable meeting with the EPA, and well, you go ahead and summarize it as best you can, Jack. I'll let the other board members chip in for any.
Thanks. I have notes here somewhere. So this afternoon, a variety of local leaders and representatives from the EPA and from Eagle had a meeting at the community college. Apparently, Ann Vogel, the EPA Region 5 administrator, contacted Debbie Dingell to set up this meeting. And as we all know, Debbie Dingell has been really instrumental in bringing the EPA in. So our appreciation to her. And the EPA made a presentation with the usual caution that their process is not fast. They engaged us by introducing the people who will be the team who addresses the Gelman plume, and kind of walked us through a scenario of how this will progress through their usual process, and let us know that they will, on a continuing basis, involve the public here in Ann Arbor in their process. It was all good news. The sun was shining. The EPA was in town. We're all happy. Um, I don't know what more I can say now. I think that um, Roger has the slide presentation that they gave us that he'll post
I'm
later.
actually going to share that with Card Core, like I shared it with the Card
Yes.
Executive Committee. So you
Okay.
can download it and look at it yourself. These are the handouts that they presented in paper form, and then I got the electronic copy of them. So they'll probably wash out on my Zoom screen here, but there's several pages. It's a summary. I also videoed the meeting with a 3 camera setup and another audio recorder, and that hasn't been edited together yet. Um, but if it, and I would just say that all of the information presented was good news. And we went outside. This was a nice day, and we had a group photo taken of everybody. And after the photo, there was side groups of people meeting together for several minutes. This was after the meeting. And the conversation that happened in those little subgroups was very encouraging, talking with the EPA people and the Equal people and everybody else. It was all positive. So I'm going to jump over here and stop the share for a minute so I can open up my email and share the handouts with everyone. There's one handout that we didn't get, and Rita, I think you might have the copy of it because there was one copy that was handed out from a question that you asked. So we're going to try to get a copy of that. If not, I'm going to have you scan what you got, that one-page thing.
Yeah, it was just the example of a community engagement process of some of the things that were done in Kalamazoo. And that she emphasized, Diane emphasized that the process would be different for everybody, for each site, but that, similar things might be expected here. Because I had asked about what was the exact process. She said that there would be community interviews, and I asked what would be the process of the interviews, like how would the interviewees be selected, and whether the interviews would be in person or on Zoom or whatever, so things like that. And so basically, she just gave me 2 flyers that gave some examples of it. And so, yes, I'll be happy to take a photo of that, Roger, and send that to you.
I think Jim has his hand up here.
A few years back, maybe, I don't know, 6 years ago, we were at a meeting over at Washtenaw, and Debbie Dingell was there, and there was EPA representatives there, and they said that it would take up to 10 years for them to, once it's approved, before they could start working on the actual Superfund. Did they specify any timeframes at this meeting on how long it might take?
They did not.
No.
But they did repeat the idea that this is a time-consuming process. They're first going to gather information to inform themselves on what plan might go forward. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, the 6 to 10 year always comes, Jim, from when you start with nothing. And when you don't have any monitoring wells, you don't have any surface water samples, groundwater samples, all of that. Well, as you know, on this site, you've got oodles of monitoring wells, groundwater samples, and things like that. So what they can do is what they sometimes call an interim remedial measure. That is, while they're doing the remedial investigation and feasibility study to determine exactly what the final remedy is going to be, they take this interim remedial measure, which means that they take action which is likely to be consistent with the final remedy. Well, the final remedy here is going to be groundwater pump and treat. I mean, there's really very little other alternative. So if you take an interim remedial measure, you can do that within 6 months, a year. So within 6 months or a year or so, they can ask Gelman to install additional monitoring wells to stop the plume from going north, west, east, and south. And that's their main concern that they expressed, is that this plume continues to migrate. So what they'll be able to do before the 6-10 year generic time frame is cobble together something that will allow them to stop the plume from migrating to residential wells and the Huron River.
Thank you.
And we have 30 years of accumulated information that we can help them get up to speed more quickly than the typical site. As Dan says, we're way ahead of what a typical site would be.
Rita has her hand up. Go ahead, Rita.
So, I didn't even realize I was unmuted. So the other thing I would just add to Dan's description is that the EPA, several people from the EPA, including the Region 5 administrator, emphasized that we're here to do action. You know, that they were not planning to just sit around and do nothing. That, in fact, things were already underway, and so I think that was that you should take, Jim. I think you should take heart with that. That it's. I don't think we're looking at some indefinite period of time. But you know, I don't think there's foot dragging that's going to be going on. I was going to look for some of my notes, including so Dan spoke to remedial action. There's also something called early actions or emergency responses, which I think is sort of an interesting notion. And I asked about that, and that says necessary. That can trigger if they decide that there is sufficient concern and meet certain criteria. They have 8 criteria that they use, some of which I think we meet. But I don't know if it'll be enough to trigger a time critical removal action, but they put a 6-month deadline on that. So I think that I think there are, you know, who knows how it goes in the future. We don't have a crystal ball, but I think there is very good reason to be hopeful and to be optimistic.
One more question. How much clout does EPA have today? And because I thought EPA was being like phased out by the Trump administration.
Well, Debbie Dingell spoke pretty passionately about that and said basically, you know, don't count them out. Yeah, and the head, not the head, but another EPA person, I can't remember his name offhand, said that, you know, just remember that this is polluter pay. The Superfund law is polluter pay. And we don't have that in Michigan. Michigan, people like, anyway, several people, including some people in our group, have been working to try to get polluter pay laws back on the books in Michigan. We used to have them. They're not now, but Superfund is a polluter pay. They have identified the polluter. They've already sent Gelman, you know, a letter saying you need to inform us of your corporate structure. Where's the money? You know, basically, and we need an agreement as to how we're going to be proceeding, and you are liable. So those were 3 key things I picked up from the message, so other people may have other things.
Yep.
I'm going to share some photos while we're talking about this, so you can get an idea what went on in the meeting. It was a relatively small room, could only hold, you know, this many people. And CARD was well represented. Pretty much all of the CARD executive committee was there. And then a lot of the others were elected officials from the different units of government. And of course, EPA and DEQ, Eagle people, as well as Debbie Dingell and her staff. So this is really a very useful and open meeting and very positive results.
So before I call on Vince, I want to point out that Debbie Dingell emphasize how significant it is that the Trump administration listed this on the Superfund site. That they're not going to list it if they're not going to pursue it. And so that's an important thing to note that it's the Trump administration that's moving forward on this, and we do have a responsible party. So go ahead, Vince.
Yeah, I think the other thing is that in our favor, we have quite a few scientists in the area who will probably join in on some portion of this, have their students work on some of this. I think U of M, unfortunately, wasn't very active for a long time, and we're afraid of, making Ann Arbor look bad because it's got 1,4-dioxane. But I do think that at this point, they'll probably step up and help. I think there'll be a lot of people who are knowledgeable will also join in. So I think we have a lot of potential, and we just have to make sure we stick together and do the best we can and try and get as much information as we can. So thanks, Jack.
Yep. And on that point of sticking together, Debbie Dingell made a point of noting that we weren't all unified in this community, and through a lot of work of great environmentalists in our community, we convinced reluctant supporters. So Christopher Taylor was at this meeting. Katie Scott was at this meeting, and both of them had opposed bringing the EPA in earlier in the process. And now we're all on board. And Debbie Dingell was emphasizing how important it is that we not start fighting among ourselves, but rather support the EPA's work. Another point I'd like to make is that the site team has already engaged. One of the site team members pointed out that she had read Rita and Bob's study on vapor exposure in wet basements. She cited another study that I was unaware of that she had read. She had read all of the comments that were submitted to the EPA when they were pondering whether or not to list this. These people are already fully engaged and excited to be here. So I was very happy with the report we received today, and it's going to be an ongoing process. They're going to continue to meet with us as this moves through their process. On the other hand, I want to emphasize that there won't be a cleanup next week. It'll be a long process, not as long as some sites, but it probably won't be entirely cleaned up within my lifetime. Urgency was to get them into town to start this process, and they are fully committed to a cleanup. All right.
I will say that the cleanup's still going on. Eagle will still enforce the consent judgment while EPA is coming up to speed. One thing the EPA did say is that this portion that's heading north near my property, that is going to be a focus for the 4 dozen wells that were contaminated outside the prohibition zone in Scioto Township. That's going to be a focus of theirs going in. So there might be maybe even some kind of emergency relief for those before the rest of the site problems, that are slowly spreading. I mean, this is already contaminated people's water supplies. They might be able to get some emergency action. We don't know yet, but because they're already exposed, they're going to have some different priority than the people down here that are already drinking city water. And we got to get this cleaned up so it doesn't spread outside. But so there's good news about all aspects of this site.
I want to draw your attention to George's comment in the meeting chat that this division of EPA is fully funded at this point in time and fully staffed. So this is going to move forward. And even if they reduce the staff in this area of the EPA, it won't unlist the site. It may delay it. So that comment is in the meeting chat. Are there any other comments on the meeting we had this morning or anything else regarding the EPA? Go ahead, Glenn.
Oh, I just like to say that the Superfund status gives us a legal leverage that hasn't existed before. Having said that, it is a cumbersome process. I've been involved in quite a few sites like this over the years, and it is slow, but slow by Gelman standards is maybe quicker. Will seem quicker as we look back. So it's a good thing.
Yes, I agree. Thank you. I would note that we're 40 years into this, and so slow is a relative measure, you know.
Exactly.
Any other comments or questions? So the sun was shining, the EPA was in town, and all the news was good. I was really happy about the meeting. If there's nothing else, oh,
I I,
we're good.
I want
Oh,
to make a comment if I could.
sure, go ahead.
I think this has been a huge weight off of the collective shoulders of this community. And I think people have, felt years of, a weight on them. And I think this is, going to improve the quality of life in Ann Arbor. And I think, luckily we'll be able to get through this. And it may not take as long as some people think, depending on what technologies are available. Danaher, the company that's the responsible party, actually has a product called Trojan, which actually does 1,4-dioxane decontamination. Now, it's not the greatest system in the world, but at least it is something that's available right now and that could be implemented potentially before, more sophisticated equipment is available. So, um, I think we could hit the ground running, so to speak,
Of
if
course,
we
they're
wanted
using
to.
that already. It's just the volume of how much you'd have to pump to get rid of all of it is going to take decades and decades.
Well,
Well,
I just,
if we can avoid it getting to the wells and Barton Pond, that would be a good first step for sure.
Absolutely.
but additionally, because it's spread for 40 years, it really is a complex problem. It's at a variety of levels in our aquifer, and it's expanded, 3 or 4 miles across the city, so it's more complex. Go ahead, Dan.
Well, you're right, Jack. She's all over the place, but the benefit is that this groundwater extraction technology, which has just partially been implemented by Gelman, can quickly expand and can stop, as Roger says, the plume from moving to the north towards Sile and towards Barton Pond. It's just a matter of increasing the number of extraction wells to make sure that it captures that water and so it can't continue to migrate.
Yeah.
I agree. So I,
And
I
Jack, I just like to thank everybody here that's been in CARD and in the government participating in this thing, and really like to give a special thanks to Mike Moran with Ann Arbor Township and Spalding Clark with Scioto Township and Nancy Schiffler with the Sierra Club for signing the petition to US EPA to make the site into an NPL site back in November 2016. At that time, a number of other governments weren't wanting to go that way, and they, helped us get that far to this date. The other thing is that, during the project, I talked to a number of local governments expressing concern with the Gelman hiring a high-paid Washington, D.C. lobbyist to fight against the Gelman US EPA Superfund site. They all wanted to hire their own Washington, D.C. lobbying firm to counter the Gelman lobbyists. And I reminded them that, we already have the best lobbyist in Washington, D.C. that you can have, Debbie Dingell. And Debbie definitely delivered for us to make it into a Superfund site, and she definitely delivered the team to do that, I think. In my estimation, it's a great team that we've got here with US EPA.
I agree. Debbie has been just a champion on this issue, both within the Washington crowd, but locally, she twisted arms and applied pressure to get reluctant local leaders to support this idea. And I cannot praise her enough. And with that thought, I'm going to thank Georgia for putting together the meeting this morning. It was well organized, and turn it over to her if she has anything to say today.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm sorry to have to be off camera today. I'm on my phone. It has been a bit of a chaotic day for us, but did want to be here anyway. And a special thanks, of course, to the card executive folks who joined us this afternoon. Of course, I'll avoid getting into most of the details from that meeting since we've already covered some of them. And I just wanted folks to be aware that now that the people who we can expect to hear from in the future from EPA, they have emphasized to us, being myself and Zach Hayward, our district director, and the congresswoman herself, that they want to understand this network of people who have been working on this for so very long, and that they want to sort of fit into the work that's already happening and, you know, meet us where we are instead of trying to force this group into a mold that doesn't work. When we're talking about that community involvement plan that specifically Diane and some other folks will be working on, though Diane did say that she's a team of one, so sounds like mostly Diane. But I just wanted to make that note since she had informed me of that as well. And of course, you know, as we try to figure out what the next public involvement part of this looks like, I think that we can expect to hear something from EPA Region 5 Legislative Affairs in terms of the people who will be working with our office. And it sounds like, just for this group's awareness, that will probably be Diane for all of you in her position. So that's our understanding of it at this point. And yep, we're very excited to get started on this next chapter. I'm only 3 years into understanding it, so of course that's not even enough time really to get the full picture, but really excited to keep working on it, and again appreciate Card's executive group for being a part of this conversation.
Well, thank you, and don't diminish your role in this. You have really been very supportive, and of course you work for that wonderful congresswoman that is instrumental here. Any questions of Georgia?
I just have one request, Georgia, and that's since you had your office had printed off the name cards for everybody with their positions with the different organizations. I wonder if you have a list of those someplace that you're going to keep. So we need something to help people understand when they see a name to put it into a mental organization chart with which organization they're dealing with. And I think we can appoint somebody at the CARD Executive Committee to help manage that. But I think right now you probably have the best list of everybody who was at the meeting and what their positions were with which organizations. So uh, something that we'd appreciate you could feed to us sometime in the next week or so.
Sure, that sounds good.
Thank you. Anyone else? Then let's move on. Dan, you've been talking, but do you have anything further to say?
No, I think again, I want to thank everybody for pulling it forward, getting to be an NPL site, and that I think the team that EPA is fielding is very good. They're very experienced people, and whether it's a removal action or an interim remedial measure, I think that sooner rather than later, we're going to see some action.
Yeah.
And we owe a lot of gratitude to you as that young grad student who discovered all of this and started the process. And I appreciate what you've been doing more recently behind the scenes on behalf of the townships.
Yeah. And again, you remind everybody that if it wasn't for Dan doing that sampling, this dioxin might not have been discovered even today. Gelman could have been using much more dioxane by now.
Yep.
Think how big the problem would be then. So shout out, applause for Dan.
Indeed. I'm going to move on to the Eagle updates. Chris, are you here?
I don't think we have anybody. He was at the meeting, so I don't think he made it back.
Alrighty.
This is not a quarterly meeting. And remember again that
Oh, that's
the
right.
June quarterly meeting is going to be in July because of scheduling conflicts. So it's going to be July 7th is the next quarterly meeting. We'd expect something from Chris. Although the May meeting, he may show up because there's going to be some EPA news that he might want to pass along.
Indeed. Right. And we have nobody here from Eagle. Let's move on to old business. All stakeholders, list all data submittals from Eagle. Do you have anything to say about that, Roger?
Well, this is something that I've been thinking we need to do in order to uh, help the EPA hit the ground running. So there may be some documents and data sets and reports that one entity has that isn't in the CARD or SRSW archive. So I wanted to kind of pull everything together. I started doing this back in 2020, and then COVID hit, and they didn't get to continue it with each of the local units of government to see what their archives look like and find things that might be unique that we need to share with everybody to have one centrally at least if it's not stored central, at least we have an index into where the official document is stored. And we have copies of it, electronic copies of it, so that uh, we don't miss anything when we're evaluating and helping EPA evaluate the site, that we have the full story with uh, all of the trove of information that we have currently. So that's something that we'll need some help, some volunteers to help go into each of the local units of government and do an assessment of what they have, recognizing what might be unique versus what we have in the CARD and SRSW archives. So that's going to be an ongoing issue. And the quicker we can do that, the more help we can be to the EPA to come up to speed with the full picture of the site. That's basically what that is defining the site enough that with all of what everybody's had over the decades, and make sure we're not missing something.
I agree. And also, the EPA has the authority and the wherewithal to make these demands on those local entities that they might ignore from us. So, working with the EPA, I think we should be able to accomplish this.
Good point.
Any questions or comments on this? I'm going to move on to the Washtenaw County. As I mentioned last month, Yusuf is no longer the liaison from the County Board of Commissioners. I'm not sure who is yet, and I don't see anybody on the attendance here that might be that person. So
Kristen, did you hear anything about that, Kristen? Kristen?
Sorry, it took me a minute to find my unmute. No, I haven't, but I will reach out to the chair and see if anyone else has been appointed.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't see anybody here from the Water Resource Commission. So I'm going to let Kristen talk on behalf of the Health Department, I suppose.
Thanks, Jack. I don't really have any updates. I think, I was obviously at the meeting earlier today. I think the summary was well covered. We look forward to working with the EPA when and if that happens, in the coming days, weeks, months, and years. Roger, I appreciate the idea of the data review. I would love to do that. We're limited on staffing. But we are certainly looking to bring in some interns this summer. And so if they can be of any help, at least for our internal organizations, we're happy to, kind of pitch in and do that. I know we've got dusty boxes upon boxes of information. So it's not anything that's going to be real easy to go through. Other than that, I don't know that I've got any additional updates. Are there any questions for me?
I will point out at the roundtable meeting today, the Water Resources Commissioner was there, as were other people from the county.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Thank you, Kristen. And it was nice to run into you in person for a change.
I almost didn't recognize her because, on Zoom, she doesn't wear her glasses. She's showing up in glasses in this meeting.
I was incognito today.
Yeah, it's like Clark Kent and Superman, I think.
Alrighty. Seeing no hands raised, I'm going to move on to Ann Arbor Township. Is there anyone here on their behalf?
Well, again, we had somebody at the meeting, but he didn't make it to the Zoom meeting tonight.
Alrighty. Scioto Township, Kathy Knoll informed me that there are no updates from the Scioto Township, and she's, I don't believe in it, attendance because she has something else going on.
Correct.
Moving on to the city of Ann Arbor, Erin, do you have anything to report?
Hi, I don't have any updates. I too was at the meeting today and thought it was great news and nothing more to add from me from the city.
Right. We really appreciate your participation in our meetings. We really wish we had a city council member assigned to this, but not yet, apparently.
Before you leave, Aaron, do you have any comments about the item 1 back here to review what data the city has that might be in addition to what CARD and SRSW have? I haven't reviewed the city archives at all, so I have no idea what that involves.
We have internal check-ins in the city. I can certainly ask. When Kristen said that they were having some interns come in, we also have seasonal interns at the city that could be able to help with that as well. But yeah, I will check internally what that information looks like and how we would accomplish that.
Yeah, and I don't know if you have interns scheduled for the summer too, but that might be a good job for them.
We do have one water resource intern, so that could be a potentially something for their plate.
Yeah, and I have the complete list of everything that was sent out as part of the monthly submittals back when DEQ and Eagle used to send them out. And that'd be a good cross-reference to check off, okay, we already have those, but here's something that's not on that list. That's basically what it's going to be involved. Here's what we have. And if you have the same things, check. But here's something you have that we don't, or that's not in the official thing, then those are the ones we're going to target. Something that you might have had your own studies done or your own, court cases or things like that. And the whole court case thing about, how much of the court case information can we get access to is another issue that we can discuss another time.
Sure. Yep.
And I'm pretty sure that the EPA will have access to that material, even if we don't.
Yeah. Kathy Null just made you a liar out of us because she just showed up.
Oh. Well, then we'll ask Kathy to update us on SIO. No, she's not listening.
You there, Kathy?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yep.
Now we can.
Okay.
We said you weren't going to be able to make it, and here you are.
I said I didn't think so, but I thought I would tune in for a moment.
Perfect timing.
Great. There are really no updates that I have. I mean, the biggest news was the meeting that many of us attended today at Washtenaw Community College, and it was an excellent meeting. So have you updated the group on that yet?
Yeah, that's what we talked about for the first one.
Okay. Okay,
45
great,
minutes here.
great. Thank you.
Well, thank you. So I'm going to turn to the other stakeholders. Dan, do you have anything to say about the SIO homeowners testing?
Not anything new, no.
Okay. Are there any other stakeholders who have anything that they want to add at this time?
I do want to meet with the people whose wells have been contaminated in small groups, sub-neighborhoods, to make sure their consensus is represented either through CARD or SRSW, to make sure they're up to date about what's going on. And so I'm going to strive to do that here in the spring, uh, as I have time. And anybody that wants to has connections or want to help out with that, I'd appreciate it. Stepping forward.
Right. So then I'm going to turn to the executive board. Rita, have we heard anything more from Yale? You're mute.
Yeah, no, I haven't heard anything more. I don't have any further update.
Okay.
I had a brief interaction with them. So they are still alive and kicking. And they are submitting. Did I tell you guys that? I don't know. They
You
are,
did
they are,
last month, yes.
yeah, it's okay. So nothing new since then, sorry.
All right. It's good to know that they're still trying in spite of the environment we are in. The subcommittee on Allen Creek MS4 is still not met, so I'm going to move on to the polluter pays. James, I assume there's no progress on that as well. I thought James was here.
I
didn't see him.
too.
Okay.
Oh, well, in fact, there's been no progress, as we know.
Yeah, as I recall, he pointed that out. Although he did note that Jason Morgan continues to try to make progress on that in the state legislature.
But again, the EPA says that they do polluter pay, so
Yep.
it might be sort of a moot point once this is an EPA, whether it's Michigan has it or not.
Indeed, for our purposes, but
Right.
I think we're also all interested in the fact that our state legislation is so lacking on that point. Are there any other executive board members who want to raise any issue or comment at this point in time? Well, seeing none, I'm going to turn it over to Roger. Roger, you've only got an hour and 10 minutes.
No, it's not going to take that long.
I know.
Basically, I have a few slides that are from so this is just a recap of what we covered in previous ones. Again, these are the documents that you can click on when you get to this slideshow in the minutes or in the it's even in the agenda. And you can open these up and see the source of what went on in terms of getting the statement of the EPA settlement and preceded by Debbie's message to us all and then some other reporting on the EPA announcement. So these are the things that are going on with the EPA according to their release. And they've already, as somebody said earlier, they've already hit the ground running as much as they can on this. And they're going to be meeting with us, with all the stakeholders to get any information that can help them move more quickly, basically, and get all the facts. Again, we're a unique site in that we've been at this for decades. And so we probably have a lot more detailed information than a typical site would have. So the challenge is to how do you give that information in a usable way to the EPA so they can make use of it as quickly as possible. That's no trivial task because there's so much information. There's so many little details that come into play. So it'll take a little while. We have to think about how to break it down so that it's in manageable parts. Sorry about that. So think about that as, in dealing with organizations where I'm not used to dealing with the EPA. Some people might be more used to it. But I think the relationship we have so far as of the meeting today, there's going to be a lot of communication, and how that communication is organized and recorded and disseminated and shared with all the stakeholders is going to be important to make sure that if somebody contributes something, somebody else knows that that is what had happened and maybe has some addendum information to feed into that, to build on that. So we can try to reduce the redundancies, but include all the details that we all have pieces of for this site. And that's going to be the challenge we have, is not to overwhelm these are individual humans that we're dealing with, and make sure that their understanding of the site is accurate and full, but not so much that they hear the same thing 10 times. So, and I don't know what the answer is, but maybe we can think about it before we start doing it. So, I know when I talk to new people, reporters, and that there's a limit to how much I can give them before their eyes glaze over. And there's probably some good ways to do this, but I don't know that this is such a complex site in so many ways. We have to do it in an organized way. And so I'm open to any suggestions that people have as from their experience or from their ideas. And I think we can attack this pretty quickly. It's just that I don't want to do it haphazardly. That's what I'm saying. So I'm looking for any feedback on that. So, we've already identified they're already identifying key stakeholders and contacts. Several of them were at the meeting today. We're going to be looking over schedules of who is available in the next few weeks to talk about the EPA and their people. And then later on, evaluating enforcement approaches to address the groundwater pollution. That's going to come after they have a good understanding of the site. So that's about all I have to say on this page. And then I think the rest of these are just recaps of what the process has been to get to this point. So we had to go through all of this stuff over here to get to this point where it's an NPL listing. And here's another chart that picks it up from that point. We're at the listing process, and here's what comes next. So in the meeting today, they did a little recap of what these steps are going to be. And there's some more details here. The important thing that was pointed out is that throughout this whole process, community involvement and planning is continuing through this whole process. There's going to be community involvement and keeping the community informed and hearing from the community, dialogue with the community throughout this whole process. There's a lot of details, but the fact that we're going to be involved, and CARD is going to likely be the entity that becomes the community involvement group for Eagle. And then this is just another flow of that I found at another site. And here's where we are. So we made it through these steps. So I have these other 30 steps to go, okay? But again, because we're we're ahead of the game. Some of this stuff might go more quickly than it would be at a typical site. So if anybody has any issues about this chart, these are all EPA source charts. So I guess those are still valid, I think, according to people who have looked at them. Um, so we've got some work ahead of us. We're in the right path. We're moving forward, uh, and all good news. So this is the Superfund Community Advisory Group, and these are the links to what this is all about. This is right from the EPA site and some related pages, so you can skim through this to see how CARD as a community advisory group is what's going to be expected of us, what we can do, and how we're going to be interacting. I haven't looked through all these details myself yet, but these are out there for looking at. And that's basically it, except for unrelated, no, semi-related. Earth Day Festival is 2026 is this April 19th, Sunday from noon to 4:30. I can only be there for the first hour. I've got a prior engagement. So I know Vince and Rita have committed, but we want to have some other people there because I expect with all the news about this, people will come up to the and be asking questions. So we have to have a way to engage the community and keep them up to speed. So we're looking for volunteers to show up that day. It's a Sunday from noon to 4:30. And I'll be back at the end to pack up, or Vince and Rita could pack up what we have. And any ideas for what we need to present at that Sunday meeting would also be appreciated. So I think I'll leave it there. Rita.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to be there the whole time. So I
We
think
need some
that,
other volunteers then.
yeah,
I'm likely to be there, so it's in my calendar.
thank you.
And it's always a good thing. It's going to be at the Leslie Science Center. There's always interesting people and we basically need to let the community know what we know as a group. And it doesn't have to be a lot of details. It's just, here's what's happened. And we can even have some of these as display to show where we are in the process. There may be, I don't know, this one's more interesting to look at, I think, than this one. But I'm not sure. Maybe Dan has more feedback on them. I think it's on the screen right now, but he said these are probably the same process. We made it through all this. We made it we made it to this step. Now we got all this to do. How it's going to go is going to depend on community involvement and how much foot dragging the company's going to do. But as the EPA involved, they can get around foot dragging. So I'm not seeing a lot of hands go up as volunteers, but talk to your friends and neighbors and other people on card to get us well represented for this.
Alrighty. Thank you, Roger. Anybody who wants a copy of these diagrams that were in his presentation, there's a link in the agenda to his presentation, and you can download it for yourself.
That's right. Indeed. Right here.
Yes.
This takes you right to it. Also, when we do the minutes, I don't know if I put it in this time. Usually, well, it's in the agenda. We don't need it in the minutes. Yeah, it's in the agenda. All right. That's it for me.
All right, Roger. The next thing on the agenda is non-agenda items. Does anyone have anything that they want to raise at this point in time?
You mean like, are we going to have a celebration party every month like we
I,
did just before this meeting?
I certainly enjoy rubbing elbows with other card members in a bar-like situation. So yes, we'll have
And
to
the waitress and her friend there at the bar, they were interested. So
contemplating that. So all right, seeing looks like Kathy's on board for that. I
I
guess.
was also trying to raise my hand, but
Oh,
you raised
raise
a whole bunch of
raise many.
thumbs up. That was good enough.
Yes, I still haven't heard back from Debbie's office regarding the June 14th brunch.
oh,
So, Roger, maybe as our leader, if you could call the office and add some credibility, that might be helpful.
yep.
And on a lighter note, I want to say that I do have, I don't know if you can see this very well.
Yeah.
It says EPA Now. I have 50 of these if anyone's interested, or we could hand them out at one of our celebrations. Someone mentioned that Debbie helped advocate at the federal and local level. She was also instrumental at the state level in getting the letter that we needed. And
Yes.
it was during COVID, so we had these masks and we were planning to go up to Lansing and demonstrate on a Tuesday. And Debbie made some calls on Monday and took care of the problem for us.
So you're stuck with all these 50 masks that we have to wait for
I'm
the
going to have
next
a
one.
party and hand them out. But
You
I
should
just wanted
draw.
to
You should draw
thank
like
Debbie.
a happy face on it.
Pardon me?
Make a happy smile face on it.
Oh, I could do that, or
Yeah,
just bring red markers and everyone could do their own smile.
yeah, something to make big teeth and lips, Not so much that it looks like what's that one horror movie? Yeah,
Okay, thank you, Kathy. So we're in almost at an hour. So that's pretty remarkable. I
yeah.
think we could contemplate whether or not we want to reduce the number of meetings we hold per year. Maybe go to a quarterly meeting. I don't want to debate it at
It's
this point.
something to think about, but not for the next
Yeah.
couple of months anyway. I mean, we're gonna miss the June meeting, so we're already reducing it by that.
Yep.
And we need the quarterly meeting in July. And then summer is always a little slow, so we'll see what happens. But it depends on how much feedback we want to keep going, discussing in this format within the card group.
Yep.
I
Well,
think this year might be a little busy because of the EPA developments. I'm hoping anyway.
well, hopefully we'll be meeting with the EPA like the meeting earlier today, and it won't be as necessary to meet among ourselves. But let's let's
Correct. Right.
let's contemplate that as we go forward.
Yeah, but we still need to update the people that aren't necessarily at those individual meetings.
Sometimes a meeting can be reduced to an email. So
Well,
our next,
it's already, this because the EPA was involved, this meeting is already down to an hour.
yeah. So our next meeting is May 5th at 6 p.m. I look forward to seeing everybody. If there's no further comment or questions, that's the end of the meeting, Roger.
Very good. Thanks, everybody.
Yep. Thanks,
Thanks,
everybody.
everyone. Thank you.